Hey guys, this is Mrs. Stickler again. I am specifically coming on here to review with you what you are going to have a quiz on in class on Wednesday. We're focusing primarily on the parallelogram, rectangle, rhombus, and square tabs of your study guide, of your flip book that we've been creating. So there are 5 properties of a parallelogram that you need to be able to list here. There are 2 properties of a rectangle that you have to list here. There are 3 properties of a rhombus, and you only need 1 word for square. So let's look here at parallelograms. What are my properties of a parallelogram that I have to know? And if you can't remember as you're studying, you can just come here to the flip book, and the 5 that we're primarily talking about are these 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what do we know? Opposite sides are parallel, opposite angles are congruent, diagonals bisect each other, opposite sides are congruent, and consecutive or same side angles are supplementary. So I'm going to list all the opposites first because I know opposite sides are what? Opposite sides are congruent. Now I'm going to use that little symbol for congruency because that's easier than writing the words out. And I also know opposite sides are parallel. Now, that's not an 11. Those are parallel lines, a symbol for parallel. We also know that opposite angles are congruent. We know that the consecutive or same side are supplementary. I realize that's a great big word and went out too far. So opposite or same side angles are supplementary. And the last thing we know is about the diagonals. The diagonals bisect each other. Now I would recommend, because diagonals is the last thing here, that we have something about diagonals both in rectangle and rhombus. So I'm going to start with the diagonals in both. And in a rectangle, we know the diagonals are congruent. And then the only other thing we know about a rectangle that makes it different from a parallelogram is that there are 4 right angles. You could even say all angles are congruent if you want. Rhombuses, we know 2 things about the diagonals. We know the diagonals are perpendicular to each other. We also know that the diagonals bisect angles. And then the last thing we know is that we have 4 congruent sides. The only thing you need to know to write down for squares is regular, because that means that it's a regular quadrilateral. All sides, all angles are congruent. But the other thing about a square is every other one of these things we've just written is also true. Hope that helps you review for the quiz. You will be handed this paper just like I filled out and I wrote all of that information on. You will be able to do that on the test. It will look exactly like this. Good luck studying, and I'll see you on Wednesday.